Where's Rick? Where's Karen?
They broke up.
There's something about a Noxema girl.
Heroin addiction is bigger than all of that.
We'll call him Marty, a self-professed heroin junkie on the rainy streets of Seattle. Marty may have been one of the last people to see Kurt Cobain alive, for he claims in this exclusive interview with A Current Affair, just days ago, he was summoned to the singer's posh hillside home to deliver a large package of black tar heroin.
I knocked on the door, said who I was and what I had, where it was from. We did socially turn on together, and
you actually took heroin with Kurt Cobain?
Yes.
And word here on the streets of Seattle is that Kurt Cobain was no stranger to hard drugs and an even harder life. He grew up here in the small coastal timber town of Aberdeen, 2 hours outside of Seattle. And under these frequently gray skies, friends remember a frail artistic child plagued by chronic health problems and devastated by his parents' divorce when he was 10. James Cobain is Kurt's uncle.
You know, what I think about him is just a happy little kid at one time, you know. But that was before the divorce, too, you know.
The divorce was a real defining moment for him.
Right. He drew into himself a lot more and wasn't so extroverted. He became more introverted.
He created some great things in my art class, and I always thought of him as being someone who'd probably go far.
Of course, Grace Harbor is mourning the death of Nirvana's Kurt Cobain.
Pat Anderson grew up with Kurt Cobain in Aberdeen and is now playing the rocker's music on the local radio station.
He was such a, you know, a meek and gentle guy, and it was so ironic. The music that he put out was full of pain and anguish.
And it was music that obviously spoke to a generation with dimming expectations and exploding anger. And with success, Kurt Cobain soon became the reluctant poster boy for Generation X.
His following was a generation of kids that went through divorce. Kids that didn't have any hope. I mean, they've been numb to everything.
He'd wear what he'd want to wear. He'd sing about what he'd want to sing about. He'd write music on his own terms, and he made money at that. And people liked that, too. That's why I think that was different. And it blew the music world wide open.
The money and the fame and everything that was involved in his life is not the answer to the happiness that I think he was seeking. It was just too fast for him.
And with fame soon came a star-crossed marriage to another famous singer, Courtney Love, of the all-female punk band Hole. It was a union reportedly packed with problems, from violent outbursts to serious drug abuse. Ironically, in an example of life imitating art, early in her career, Courtney Love had a supporting role in the movie Sid and Nancy, a film about another real-life rock and roll relationship that was saturated in booze and drugs and ended in violent death. But then just recently, things seemed to turn around for Kurt Cobain. He and the band put out a very successful follow-up album, and he and his wife had a baby, a little girl that was said to be the apple of the rock star's eyes. In January, Cobain and the band appeared on the cover of Rolling Stone. Inside, he told the magazine that he'd never been happier in his life, that he was finally coming to terms with his fame, and that he'd even kicked his heroin habit. It made interesting reading, but apparently Kurt wasn't telling the truth.
The addiction and the drug itself has a way of blinding you to anything else but your need for it.
And while Cobain was publicly claiming to be clean and sober, just weeks later, the singer lapsed into a drug-induced coma while on tour in Europe. And once back home, Cobain, according to Marty, was soon hanging out at Seattle's heroin shooting galleries and getting his fixes from run-down apartments like this.
This is the apartment building that I've met Kurt and Courtney on several occasions.
Why do you think Kurt killed himself?
The addiction and his realization that he was losing his fight against it had to play a major role.
Well, they say it happens every generation, and this is our generation's time was Kurt Cobain, you know, Jim Morrison and Hendrix. So I don't know, it's just a big waste, if you ask me.
One of the last songs Nirvana recorded may have been Cobain's final cry for help. The title is I Hate Myself and Want to Die. When we come back, why the